The first truth I wish that more people understood is that black people, whoever they is, media, whatever, are still trying to normalize traumatic events that happen to black people, and that is starting to continue to affect us to this day. I.e., an example, it's not normal for you to see your best friend get killed in front of you. And then just go about your day life and things of that nature, right? And so things like that can lead to PTSD, which doesn't get treated because you find it normal. And so, long story short, we're normalizing things in the black community that are not normal. And we need to counteract that. What about?
I think to add on to what you're saying, Zach, about the truths about therapy and receiving those services, is because it's so many roadblocks in the black community, especially that black men have to overcome and navigate through. In sports, you need coaching. No matter how talented you are, you need coaching. And what coaching is teaching. What teaching is developing skills, is giving you skills. So when you go into a situation, you've practiced and worked on it so much that whenever those problems come, you have the answers, you have the counters, you have the skills to overcome that. And I think taking away that stigma of, therapy is, well, if it's for people that's crazy, and when you just kind of deal with it, as you pointed out, like you see somebody that's close to you that you love, get taken from you. Now you're just supposed to pretend like it never happened and continue with life without having the skills to do so. That's just not normal, and that's just not realistic. So being able to view it as, instead of it being just therapy, but it's being a space where I could develop skills and I could get better so that I can handle the challenges and the roadblocks in life. I think that's something I would, want, black men and just black people, in general, to understand about therapy. John, what about you?
I wish they understood how real it was. It is real, and it is not normal to see your best friend or somebody, get killed. Example, me growing up, I grew up in Roseland, and, playing ball out on the street, and then you wander off and you see something that you're not supposed to see at a young age, man. And I thought it was normal. You basically, hey, it's a body over there. And we just kept playing like it was nothing. It's not normal. And I didn't realize there was something wrong with that until I got much older and I started doing this work. And I didn't realize how much it bothered me either. So, yeah.
For me, I think what I would want black people to understand is that you can't get better unless you're honest. So if you go to the doctor and you got some pain, you got a broke leg, you lying to the doctor like, nah, I don't hurt. The doctor asks you, what's this pain on the level of 1 to 10? It's a 9. But you trying to be nah, it's a 3. You know that you're not gonna get better. You wouldn't do that. You would go to the doctor and tell them exactly how you feel so they can help you. And I think when it comes to mental health, a lot of times it's so much of a negative connotation on a mental illness, on you're crazy if you have to go see a therapist, that people will even get to the level of going to therapy and lie to the therapist and tell them like, it ain't nothing wrong, I'm good, my day was fine, my week was fine, everything's okay. And that's almost like the automatic reaction for us on a daily basis, like, how you doing, everything good. Things could be crazy, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I'm okay, everything good. And it's like, you can't really get better, you can't grow, you can't improve unless you just really be honest with yourself and with whoever's trying to help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great transition to the next question, which is, what is the biggest misconception you still hear about therapy for black men, and why do you think it still persists? I think both Jitim and Terry both hit it, and while they were talking about it, was misconception that, therapy is for crazy people or people going through something, or it's for those like the latter, right? When really therapy is what you make it, right? As Terry hit on it, you got to be honest, right? You have to be honest with what you're going through, honest with what you want to talk about. I have a therapist. I'm a therapist with a therapist. Not just going there and talking about my daily stresses or things going on in my life or things I need help with. Some days we just chop it up about sports, you know? But it's really what you make it inside the session that helps you relieve that stress, pressure, weight that you have on your shoulders week to week. And so I think it still persists because miseducation or stigmas from the past or just those things.
Yeah, no, I was feeling what you were saying because I think, you know, we all need those coping mechanisms. John talked about growing up playing football in Roseland. I'm from the west side of Chicago. So basketball and then going to church and listening to like messages that empower me, you know what I mean, from that spiritual aspect of how can I grow? And then I'm taking that to what my grandmother telling me about making the right decisions in life. Then I'm taking that from what my coach is telling me about what it takes to be a great player and a great athlete and everything. And you kind of, you know, culminating all those messages and all those things to become a better person that you're utilizing a form of therapy without it just being a term of therapy, but that's exactly what it is. So like just, you know, just piggybacking off of your point of like what you were just talking about, as Terry pointed out, you can't go into the doctor saying, you know, you were 3 when you really are 9 in pain and everything like that. So that's kind of my take on kind of that second question you asked, John.
Us as black men, we have a lot of pride. And a lot of times we get stuck on that whole, and sometimes it's just how we grew up, you know? Fix your face before I give you something to cry for, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, we're not really educated the way we should have been as far as mental health goes. So I just wish that, you know, we was more educated and we knew that it was okay to shed your tears. It was okay to say, hey, I'm sad right now, or I'm not okay right now, but I will be. You know, but we got this pride thing about us where we're just like, I'm good, I'm okay. And just like you talked about, you know, if you go to the doctor, if you need your car fixed, where do you go? You go to a mechanic, right? Sometimes we need to be fixed too, but we don't acknowledge that. And it's just like you said before, about being honest. We need to be honest about what's going on. If you hurting at a 10, I'm at a 10. If you're not okay, it's okay to say you're not okay. And sometimes we don't get that.
Yeah. I say the biggest misconception is that therapy is for crazy people. That's a big one. Like, if you go to therapy, you gotta be crazy or something seriously. And it's like, it gives you the perception that, for one, it's something wrong with something being wrong. It's something wrong with everybody. You gotta get so uncommon that something is wrong with somebody, right? That somebody needed a little bit of help. And then that also is what plays into what Zach said about, like, I'm a therapist with a therapist. I've heard so many times, like, how you a therapist and you still in therapy? It's like, your big homie got a big homie, your teacher had a teacher, your boss got a boss, your mama got a mama. Like what are we talking about? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, of course, why wouldn't your therapist have a therapist? You know what I'm saying? So, but that goes to that misconception of, like, if you're in therapy, you're crazy, is why people feel that way. Like, you can't help me if your doctor got a doctor. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think that's the biggest one, and it's just super harmful. And it's more harmful. Another big one, your therapist is not gonna help you get better because it doesn't benefit them profit-wise, right? So it's like, you know how we look at the medical system, it's a conspiracy. And some of it might be true about Western medicines, that we don't want to cure disease, we want to treat them so we can keep you on, like with these high medical bills. If we treat you, then we're not gonna make as much profit. But when it comes to therapy, it's like, there's way more clients than it is therapists. You know what I'm saying? Like, your therapist not tripping off getting you out of therapy. Like, they got a waiting list. You know what I'm saying? So this conception that people have, like, oh, they not really gonna try to help you for real because they need to make money off of you, so they're just gonna keep you long as they can. It's like, bro, go out and look for a therapist and see how many booked up, and you will see how much. You know what I'm saying? Like, true. They don't need to keep you on a caseload that bad to the point where they not willing to let you go. So those are some of the biggest misconceptions that not only hurt the field, the mental health field, but it really hurts the people more than anything, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially black male therapists. Every time I try to go in, it's a wait list, so you're right.
Facts.
If you could rewrite the narrative that society places on black boys and men, what would you replace it with? I will replace the narrative with, we just people, man. Like, we just people living our lives and adapting to the world that we go through. And the narrative is the narrative. And most of the time, if you look at the news and media, we portray it poorly, which is why when something in the news happens with a black kid, they want to show his picture with him doing something negative rather than when some white boy gets killed, you want to show him an honor roll picture. And that's strategic. And so the narrative I would like to replace it with is, bro, we're just people. Everyone's a person. We're people, and we're doing what we need to do to adapt and survive. And some of us need help, but everybody needs help, honestly. Like Terry was saying in the previous question, everyone needs help. I'm not saying everybody needs therapy, but everyone needs some type of help. So let's get that.
Yeah, I think the narrative, if I would change the narrative, you know, especially, you know, when we focusing around black men and black boys is, nah, they're not stupid. They know what's going on. You know, a 5, 6, 7-year-old boy know what's going on in his house when his mom getting abused or she doing drugs or his daddy locked up. The boy know when he went outside and, you know, somebody he know in the community or his friend lost his life or whatever like that. You know, like they know what's going on. But instead of, like what John pointed out, being able to feel comfortable with expressing, yo, I'm really messed up right now, so, you know, with the societal norms like we talked about a little bit earlier ago, it's saying, hey, you know, tighten up your bootstraps, suck it up, you'll be all right, shorty. And so now you growing up 5, 6, 7, 15, 16, 17, with all this stuff that's happened to you and going on, and all you got to do is just, you know what I mean, not talk about it, you know, not pretend like it affects you. And then a lot is just being reflective right now within this question, just kind of thinking about my own upbringing. And, you know, you go into your day-to-day life trying to figure out, how do I survive? So is that narrative is that I would say is, you know, the guys understand what's going on. They might not be able to articulate or even feel comfortable sharing, but it's affecting them and they're doing the best that they can to survive. And so it's not that these men not open to love or know how to open up their heart and their thing. What it is they protecting themselves so that they don't feel like they losing control to put them in a position that they've been seeing their entire life. And that's fear. So, you know, that's what I think that's the narrative I would like to put out there.
Absolutely. Okay. We feel too. We feel, we hurt, we cry, we're happy, we're sad, right? We feel too. So, but sometimes our communities we grow up in, like you said before, we suck it up, rub some dirt on it, you'll be all right.
Yep.
Stop crying before I give you something to cry for.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we feel stuff too, man. So that's the thing, and it's okay. We're supposed to. And I think one thing is a lot of our young men, especially a lot of our young boys, they don't know how to truly express when they're sad. So they resort to anger. Anger's easy. And that's what we see out on our streets most of the time, is anger. We don't see, you know, they're angry, but they're really sad or depressed or lost about something. So the narrative I would put out there is we feel everything too, and it's okay.
I want to take a step back from the question a little bit. Like, so we changing the narrative, right? We putting our new narrative out there. What's the original narrative though? Because we all 4 of us might have a different perspective on like what the narrative actually is. Like, what do y'all think the current narrative is? Because my cipher, like, the way I live my life and what I choose to look at, I might not. It's a lot of stuff I'm not even privy to that's going on in the world.
Well, I just think I look at just to your question. I look at what society and social media, because it's a big part of our world is, especially directed towards black men.
Right.
You know, black men, they don't care. They just using women. You hear a lot of stuff about dating, dating a black man, this and that. They need to do this and do that and do this while dealing with this and this. But this don't matter because you need to, be there, do certain things for me. You need, a lot of the times when we talk or you hear relationship talk, they like the woman should just be chilling and the man should be doing so much and so many things for them. But it's never like, I think to what Zach's question is, what's going on with him? How is he navigating all the stuff he's dealt with? And he's not talking and things like that. So it's just like, I think that narrative of everything should be on your shoulders, but nobody is there to pick you up, but you should be strong enough as a man to deal with it yourself.
Gotcha.
So that's one. I don't know, like if you got something to add to that.
Society's narrative, as I'm just basing this off what I see on the news and media, is that black men and boys are dangerous, that they do, this is the media narrative, that they do a lot of the crimes out here, they're the problems, et cetera, et cetera. I do not feel this way at all, but
the research showed that that's not true.
Exactly. They like to portray it as only athletic, not smart, and that's kind of the base that society puts on black men and black boys.
Yeah. We're hard, we don't work, we use people, we sell drugs, we gang bang.
Don't be there for our kids.
Right, we don't be there for our kids. We steal everything and we take everything because we don't ask for it, we just take it. I think that's along them lines.
I was watching this TV show last night, right? And it's 3 siblings. It's the oldest sibling, they all in their 30s. The oldest sibling, he take care of everybody financially. He like covered all of their bills. And the reason why is because the middle sibling, which is a girl, when they were kids, the oldest was 10, the other 2 were like younger, younger than that. So the middle sibling, which was a girl, was chasing the youngest sibling around the house. She was chasing him around the house. He fell, he ran into something, he ended up paralyzed. So he's paralyzed, like halfway paralyzed, or whatever the case may be, and he's completely dependent upon the other brother paying for his. Now the oldest brother is rich, everything is fine, right? And then the middle sister, because she blamed herself and had that guilt on her for her whole life, was addicted to drugs and out of rehab, all these things. So he was paying for her whole life, but he would throw it in their faces constantly that he was like, paying for everything and that they needed him. And it became a thing like, man, do you need us to need you? You know what I'm saying? Like, that make you feel powerful that we need you? And then at some point of the show, it came out that, they young, so they couldn't really remember. But the oldest brother said something like, you ran into the corner of the table. And he was like, how do you know that if you was in the kitchen? So it came out like, actually, the oldest brother tripped the youngest brother. And they were so young that they could, the little sister blamed herself for it, being like 6 years old. And he just rolled with it when the parents showed up. And, the kid was paralyzed. So he knew the whole time that he did it. He let his little sister think that she did it. She addicted to drugs her whole life because she think that she paralyzed her little brother. And he throw it in her face constantly. But he's gaslighting them, right? So the narrative to me is for us to stop letting people gaslight us because we don't remember what happened. Because we ain't do the history. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the world is like gaslighting us into making us think that we just in these positions and we don't got shit and we gotta steal, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. And it's like every time somebody, most of us ain't out here even doing that stuff. But every time somebody do, they highlight it, they put it in front of us. See, look what y'all doing. And it's like, and it's because we don't, like our kids and a lot of people even our age haven't done the history. We don't remember how we got where we are right now. And it's just gaslighting. Like it's bullshit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
That's fire,
That's what I would
bro.
think.
That's cold.
Yeah, that's too cold.
Yeah.
My man.
Yeah.
it's only,
Yeah, so it's thank Zach for those just reflective thoughts that we have. So I got a few things on my mind, and I want to start off by saying what moment in your journey made you fully commit to this work. And Terry just gave us a moment right now, about just understanding the stuff that's happened to Black people in this country and within our communities really wasn't our fault. and the things that's going on, this gaslighting that's been going on since before I got here, before our parents got here. This work, what it does is it provides healing. And everybody not gonna have the opportunity to experience a form of family and structure and community and discipline as I did as an athlete. So, you know, I would play grammar school, one of the best schools on the West Side, Hall of Fame coach in the Chicago Public Schools. So Mr. Bassfield was great. Went to Gordon Tech All-American, Northwestern College, 13 years as a professional basketball player. And people always ask, like, what do you miss most about playing? And I always tell them, it ain't really the money or the fans. It's actually the locker room, like what we're doing right now. You know what I mean? This is what I miss most about that. And so when I provide therapy or I'm in a space where, like what we in right now, I like that locker room atmosphere because one thing the locker room did was it made me grow to a man. It made me grow to understand life and how to deal with it, but how to deal with it and look at life in a positive way. And so being that I had that experience, creating that environment and creating that vibe around the young men that I get to work with every day, it's almost like a purpose for me, and it's almost like my mission. You know, we mold boys and heal broken men. I think that type of environment does that at a level that's simple, but it's effective. What you think, Zach?
You said what point in my life that made us fully commit?
Yep. What moment in your own journey made you fully commit to this work?
It was me coming out of a state of depression. And so I got arrested again for some dumb shit I was doing. And I was depressed, right? And I didn't know where I was. I was in a dark room, didn't know which way was up. And then I said to myself, tomorrow I'm going to, no matter what happens, I'm going to find a positive in whatever happens tomorrow. I'm going to make myself do that. And so, long story short, the next 3 or 4 years, I was doing that constantly, which made the next 3 or 4 years great. And in the time I was working and I was running a restaurant and I was seeing kids coming in the day, and then I started to mentor them at the restaurant. And so at the time I didn't know it, but I was doing CBT, I was doing thought replacement. And I did that myself because self-awareness, I guess. But I realized that I could help teach other kids these things just at the restaurant, just every day coming in stressed about their parents or school or life or whatever. And I found that it really made me happy when they would come to me like, yo, I got this issue, man. What's up? What can I do? And I would say, you know, small things that help, or I'll may help them change their thoughts process about different things. And so really it was that. It was just being able to see the joy in the kids I was mentoring at the restaurant, like change slowly over time, and saying like, you know, I could actually do this like for real, like as for a living. So that's what, just that happiness.
Okay. Since you wanted to highlight your Hall of Fame coach, I'm gonna highlight mine.
Yeah,
Coach
for sure,
Gregory
for sure,
Brooks,
yeah.
CPS coach, told us this a long time ago. He said, football and life is similar. He said, in the game of football, you're gonna get knocked down, kicked, spit on, stepped on, but at the end of the day, you need to get up and run your next play. And life is the same way. You're gonna get knocked down, you're gonna get kicked, but you have to learn how to get up and run the next play. And the thing is, it's a lot of our young men out here today that don't know how to get up and run the next play. I've committed to this work. I've started this journey a little bit over 25 plus years now, doing this work. And going back to what I said earlier, somebody told me you can't teach people to care. And that was just something that I've always carried with me. I've always cared. And that was just something that was always in me. And I just always wanted to be a part of lifting up people in my community. And that's it. You know, get up and run your next play.
For sure. And the question was what moment?
Yeah, just kind of what moment in your journey made you fully commit to the work?
It was a series of moments that happened my first year as a teacher in Chicago Public Schools. I had a program, well, I grew up boxing, and I had the boxing gym that I grew up in happened to be down the street from the first school I taught at on the south side of Inglewood. And I would take some of the students that I had that was just having a lot of behavior issues. I'd take them to the gym. That's where I learned a lot of discipline at. And I put them in a program and everything was good. It was the behavior was getting better and all of that. And the principal found out about it. I wasn't hiding it from him, but I just never talked to him about it. He found out about it. He like, oh, well, you can't put them in your car. And I understand that a little bit more now. But he's like, you can't have them in your car just taking them, places. Even though their parents consented, you can't do that. I'm like, well, what can we do? Can we get a school bus? They didn't really support it. I'm like, all right, it is what it is. Then I had a kid who lived in a crack house. And it was like, you could see it from the school. It was like right across the street from the school. And he just wouldn't come to school. But around 10 o'clock, I would have a break, like a 15-minute break. I wasn't really supposed to leave the school, but people did. They went on a 15-minute break. And me and the science teacher would walk to the house and tell whoever's on the porch. There'd be a bunch of people on the porch. Walk through the front door. There's mattresses all over the floor in the living room. There's a million people live there. It's crazy. And then we'd just tell whoever's on the porch, like, hey, go get him so he come down and go to school, like almost every day, right? That's only, or he just wouldn't come to school. And it's already 10 o'clock at this point. The principal catch wind that we leaving during our break and like, y'all can't do that. Y'all can't go get him for school. Okay, cool. I got another kid who, I had in my barbershop, is a barber who broke his foot. And for whatever reason, he wanted to give away all his shoes because he couldn't wear them no more, I guess. So it's 26 pairs of shoes that he wanted to give away. And there was only one kid in the school that wore that size. At the same time, we were starting a football season, and the kids are super athletic, but they all playing like Air Force One, sliding around the grass. Like, we had full contact football. So I'm telling the guys in the barbershop, like, hey, man, my kids, they cold, but they playing some of these other schools. These kids got cleats on. They pushing the kids around, Like, can y'all, put some bread together and we get these kids some cleats? So we got the cleats, and I had the 26 pairs. I'm talking about all types of Air Force Ones, like, fairly newer shoes. Bring it to the school, get the one kid the shoes, get a football team the cleats. They're like, nah, you can't do that. You gotta take all that back. And I'm like, damn, you can't help nobody. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many rules, there's so much red tape around just helping. Yeah. Like, this is just simple stuff that, you was able to do. It's like, it's so much paperwork and this and that. And it was just like, man, it just really made me want to get in a space to where I could do more. And that's a big part of the reason why I left teaching and a big part of why I love being at GRO, because there is nobody stopping you. If anything, you come to somebody and say, hey, I want to do this, they're going to figure out a way for you to do it. They're not going to tell you, like, we don't have anything set up for you to do this. They're going to figure out, like, this is, if it's against whatever policy, this is how we can do it and not go against the policy. This is how it can happen. So, I think what made me really commit was just seeing how hard it is to help people and how many kids really need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. Going to next point, it says, what have you personally navigated, or how have you personally navigated the tension between helping the client and being a human being? I think Terry really just answered that. How have you navigated the tension between helping a client and being a human being? And as I just kind of reflect on that question, I just think with me, I'm kind of fearless, because I know that if I don't help the community, and if I'm not helping the people that look like me and talk like me and believe in themselves as I did, whether as a kid or a teenager, then those young people, they're not going to get help. As we seeing right now within the government, there's a lot of those supports that's being cut and a lot of challenges within the community now. And so if we don't step up and help, forget what people say or how taboo it is like the help needs to be helped. So I just have a passion for helping, for speaking out on things that I feel is injustice or unfair, and whatever come with it, I'm like, it's whatever, I deal with it. But I'd rather, as Sherry just pointed out, I'd rather help a kid that don't have something, or speak to a kid that's dealing with depression and talking about unaliving himself, and so that he has hope to live another day, than worrying about getting permission or having to follow some type of rule that puts another human life in a position to not be supported. in the way they need to be supported. So that's kind of how I navigate the tension between, that clinical piece and what it say, being a human being. Yeah, that's how I look at it.
I kind of just like put it on myself. I kind of feel like in society, everyone has critique about everything, but no one, I'm saying no one, but people rather talk about it than actually help. Like, I think there was a saying, like, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say it at all. And it's kind of like, if you're going to complain about it and you're not going to help, you can shut up. And so when it comes to the tension between, the client and navigating, like, being a human being, it's more so of seeing the client as a human being and seeing the client as, this client is a product of the circumstances that they've come from. I work with a lot of kids, so it's like they don't even have the control of their environment or the things that they're going through. And so we have to look at that space and treat them from that space. You can't take a mindset of privilege and then try to give that to a child who's been underserved or underprivileged, right? They don't even mesh well. So it's like you have to see the person as a human being, see where they're coming from in that space and navigate that. And it does get hard sometimes, but it's what I signed up for. And I can't complain about what's on my plate if I'm asking to eat. That's a common phrase you see out, right? And so that's just how I navigate it.
Can you reread the question?
Yeah, so it's how have you personally navigated the tension between helping the client and being human?
Somebody once told me, I know I always got a lot of stories, don't I?
It's
People
dope.
told me stuff.
I love it.
It says better to ask for forgiveness than permission, right?
Word.
So if you see somebody in need, I mean, it's just kind of, and it just goes into, just like you said, Zach, it's like people always talk about stuff, but and there's no action behind it, So it's a lot of people that really don't have a lot of integrity about about the work we do. Right. So how better to ask for forgiveness than permission. That's how I go about it. And if at the end of the day, if I feel like I've done something and I did it from my heart and it wasn't, I'm okay with that. I'm gonna have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So when I hear that question, how do you deal with the tension between helping the client and being human? My mind goes to how far are you willing to go, or where do you limit yourself in your scope of work when it comes to helping somebody? You might have dealt with a kid, you like, man, if I could move shorty in with me and just, you know what I'm saying, it'd be, you know what I'm saying, I could really help this kid, I could really save him. Woo-woo. And it's times where you help somebody and it's like, as a professional, it's a limit on like what you can do. You know what I'm saying? Or what you should do, right? You don't want to enable anybody. And I think that it's when you see a kid that's just in a situation where they hungry, they don't got nothing to eat, they got to choose. I dealt with a kid who had to choose between coming to school and eating, literally. Like his mom lived far away from the school. She didn't want to bring him to school, but that's where the food was. He was going to the school because his dad address, but ain't nobody home. So he's going to come to school for a week and not eat for that week. And then the next week he was absent for a week until we saw the pattern, like, what's going on with him? It's stuff like that to where you see a kid who really want to win. Because most kids will just stop coming to school altogether. But when you see a kid that's like making adult decisions and it's like everything is going against them, they have no support at home. They haven't even finished high school yet. So it's not even like they have the basic documentation, a high school diploma, a driver's license to go out and get a decent job. When you see that, that's when the human part of you kick in. Because the human part of you is why you in this profession in the first place, right? Absolutely. That's why you here, to help, right? So when you see the people with in the most dire needs, sometimes you gotta remind yourself, like, I'm just this therapist. Like, I'm not God, I'm not his parent, I'm not, like, it's only so far I can go. And that's the tension and how to deal with it. I haven't figured it out all the way yet. It's tough, especially, like I said, with those students, with those clients or those guys who really just want it. Like it's one thing, you you got the guy that's constantly making bad decisions. You just told him, don't go left. He keep going left, keep getting locked up. But it's that one who's like really trying their best, and they just can't win. That's when the human part is just like, bro, I don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Like, it's tough. I haven't figured that out.
Yeah, I know. Like,
And that's why your therapist need a therapist.
We still have to have boundaries, though.
Absolutely,
Right?
we
Those
do.
are the boundaries that we still need to draw for ourselves.
Right.
Right. So just like you had mentioned earlier, like, what do I move this? No, you do not do nothing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's those boundaries, right? So
now you got to have self-care. You know, that code of ethics as a social worker, you know, our job is to advocate for the well-being of others. But in doing so, in order to take care of yourself, in order to take care of others, you have to take care of yourself. So you need that self-care. You need those boundaries. Like when you're on an airplane, you know, recently, I know that the airport people just got their money, so I'm looking forward to my next trip. But when you on the airplane, they say, put your mask on first, and then help somebody else. And that's what, you know, we got to keep in mind when we doing this. Like, we have to take care of ourselves first and set those boundaries, give ourselves some space to unpack so we can get ready for the next day, or we can get ready, you know, to go into that next season of supporting the community.
I mean, every morning before I go out and start seeing my clients, I do a check-in on myself just to see how I am before I go out into the world. I go into a check-in with myself to figure out where I am that day. Every morning, I check in with myself first before I go out and I do check-ins with my clients.
Okay. Yeah, before I get into the last one, since you said check-in, let's all do a quick check-in right quick. Let's check in using the street light. Red light means, you know, it's just the worst day ever. You just really stressed. Yellow light means, you know, it's been challenging, you know, but I've made it. And green light means you feeling good. So I'll say, you know, just kind of to this point from the weekend, I'm checking in as a green. You know, I'm happy to be here with you brothers. And, you know, this is really impactful and empowering and inspiring. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it to Zach. How you checking in today?
I'm like orange, bro. Between yellow and red.
Okay.
Got a lot going on.
All right.
I'll say, okay. I'm going to say yellow. It's kind of, you know, a little bit, it's Monday, you know. I feel good, but at the same time, I got a lot on my plate too. So it's kind of, I'm going to say yellow.
Okay.
I'm yellow for sure, man. My plate is like, I feel like I've just been operating from behind the 8 ball as far as like just trying to be everywhere, do everything. Yeah. It could get I would never say it's overwhelming, but it could get stressful to an extent. But I just trying to remind myself that it's good problems.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
I like these problems. If I had to choose some problems, these are some good problems.
Yeah,
bro.
these are the ones you want to choose. You know,
Ask for
God.
support when you need it, bro.
Absolutely.
You know, God give his biggest battles to his strongest soldiers, and the work we doing and what we dealing with, I'm praying for y'all. Y'all keep me in y'all prayers, and just, you know, this empowerment right here is like fuel. You know what I mean? It's gas in the tank to fill us up so that we could be motivated to face anything and we can accomplish anything. And it's a lot of greatness up here, so
You see, that's
I'm
why
definitely
I
happy to
work
be
here.
here.
That's it right there.
You know, you done gave me so many chills. I'm gonna use that in my next session. Hey, boy, life is like football. It's the inches that we go. You get stepped on, you get up the next play. You know what I mean? All right, y'all. So going into this last one, and I know John got a lot, so I'm gonna make sure I transition to John after this one. But it says, what do you wish someone had told you about mental health when you were growing up? What do you wish someone had told you about mental health when you were growing up? I wish someone would have told me that mental health is an additional piece to making you become the holistic, successful person that you ultimately will be, and that you will develop skills, not just for what you going through in school or on that court, but navigating through everyday life. I didn't grow up with my mom or my dad in the house. I lived with my grandmother, and it was, you know, so many things that she could, you know, take me in. Basketball was my escape, but kind of the therapy part was some of the things that I dealt with in college, and then even after college, you know, kind of trying to find myself. But I think Zach said this: if I would have had me as my therapist when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, or I would have had Terry, or I would have had John as my therapist, a lot of decisions that I made that wasn't the best choice I probably shouldn't have made, I probably wouldn't have, because I would have had that guidance. And so that's kind of what I think somebody would have told me about therapy. What about you, Zach?
I think something I wish someone would have told me is that you ain't got to go through it by yourself. Even though you can and you've done it, you don't have to. And there are people out there that are willing to help with no strings attached. And it's okay to trust them.
I think I wish somebody would have told me that it was not just for crazy people. That it was okay to feel some of the things that we felt growing up, you know, being confused about so many different things and seeing so many different things, and just like nobody to really say that it was okay, you know, and like you said, to ask for help, you know, because we didn't know how to really ask for help. If you ask for help, that means you're weak. So I just wish there was somebody who, and I grew up in a house with my mom and my dad, but it was still, my dad was that force, right? Shut your mouth before I give you something to cry for. I know I told y'all that plenty of times today, right? And he was that dude, right? The fro, and just like, you know.
The fro.
Yeah, he was
Joe
one of them.
Jackson.
My dad was one of those dudes, man, right? Like when you hear his van pull up, dude, it's like, It was one of them moments like, daddy home, right? Up, but I just wish it was people who told me it was okay to feel fear and okay to cry and okay to be sad, you know, and okay to talk about the things you feel, you know, and as you said, both of you guys said already, you know, you probably would have made different decisions, you know, instead of trying to be out here and be somebody you're not, or somebody you don't want to be. You just felt like it was expected of you to be that person in the community you grew up in, you know?
Yeah.
So.
What do I wish somebody would have told me about mental health when I was younger, right?
Yep.
I wish that I would have been made aware how dangerous it is to go numb. 'Cause I think going numb it's kind of the goal when you're raised on, like, you can't feel anything, nothing's supposed to hurt you. Whether you're being raised to be this tough guy, or whether you're being raised to just be a player. Either way, it's like it's different versions or archetypes of men, and all of those archetypes, the common denominator is like nothing is supposed to get to you. Everything's supposed to roll off your shoulder. Whether you're this fly player dude, whether you're this super tough dude, nothing's supposed to get to you. But it's so dangerous to not feel nothing, because when you can't feel anything. I remember my grandmother died. She was like my mother figure, and I didn't cry. I was wondering why I wasn't hurt. That's a weird feeling, to wonder why am I not crying. You know what I'm saying? And it was because I lost people who was my age. You know what I'm saying? And when you get to that point of not being able to feel anything, you can't feel when you're hurting other people either. You know what I'm saying? You can't even feel that. You can't feel when you're being mistreated. It's not supposed to roll off your shoulders. It's so much stuff that you might allow to continuously happen because it's not getting to you. But it should be getting to you, and you should be moving away from this. It's almost like, I remember a guy going back to the actual medical field, right? It was a guy who was saying he don't take painkillers during surgeries because he was getting surgery on his leg. He chose not to take the painkiller, and they was doing something wrong, and he felt it. He was like, hey, that's not supposed to feel that way. But if he was numbed up, they would have just did it wrong, and he wouldn't have felt nothing, and now his leg just ain't ever gonna be right again. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of the same way with your emotions. Like, if you can't feel anything when things start to go wrong, when you're doing wrong to others, you're not feeling none of that is going to be, you're not going to be cognizant of any of it. And that's just a very dangerous space to be in for you and everybody around you. But when you raise like that, that's kind of how you desire to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's normal.
That's on you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Okay, I'll go into my questions. In your experience, what is the most overlooked barrier to accessing mental health services for Black communities? me, it's just like we just pretty much already been talking about, the education of it and the resources. The resources I mean, I think for me in the Roseland community period, I think GRO is like one of the first mental health programs I've ever seen in Roseland. I grew up in Roseland. I've never seen a program like that in Roseland. You know, so I think just the resources and the education of it in our communities is what we're missing the most, you know. So what about?
Yeah, I was thinking about what you said with resources, because when we was growing up, we always can go to the field house. You know, we had Columbus Park, we had the Golden Dome to go to, and it was always boxing, flag football, softball. Even at our grammar schools, we had that. But now, because you don't have those programs, you know, Terry talked about a kid having to choose between food and going to school. You know what I mean? Because it's not that community aspect of social work is missing. And if a kid don't have anywhere to go to, you know, vent that energy and channel all what's going on in a positive way, or mom don't have food, don't have a job, or anything like that, well, more than likely, shorty gonna, let's say, it's time for me to go ahead and jump off this porch and go get it. But the more resources we have, the more support we have, the more things that we have for the families, I think the better the community will be, and a better, you know, the better these young men will develop. They'll still need the therapy and still need these services, but you know, you can listen a lot better when you full and when you're not starving, or when, you know, I can get some shoes or I can get some clothes. And I think we had those programs back in the 80s and the 90s, and I definitely, like when I look at 2025, don't see the resources that I grew up having, you know, even in a tough community. Zach, what about you?
Question one more time.
In your experience, what is the most overlooked barrier to accessing mental health services for Black communities?
I will piggyback and say resources, but y'all both hit that. So I'm gonna say knowing the importance of it and prioritizing it, right? So just a lot of experiences with my cases with my clients. Most of them, the father's not in the home, so mom's doing double duty. You know what I'm saying? We're working 2 jobs or working extra and doing stuff like that. So that means like the older kid has to come home and fill that role of the parent to younger siblings, right? And that taxes the child, right? But at the same time, we at GRO provide, you know, the services where we're able to go and get the kid right from that situation, and, you know, take them out of the community or bring them back to the center, play basketball, do whatever we need to do to help them with their mental health. But at times the barrier is it's not a priority for the parent to help the child, or to not put that mental health as an importance, because their priority is just keeping the lights on or keeping food in the house, which we respect. And so understanding that the mental health aspect of the family is also important to the cohesion of the family and things that's going on in the neighborhood, it would lessen that barrier so that we have quicker access or easier access, or the parent can drop them off, you know, after a shift or something like that, which does require extra effort. You know what I'm saying? I'm a parent. I got kids, and I get home from work late at 7 o'clock or whatever, and they want to come, they want to play. They got practice. I'm tired. I'm exhausted, mentally exhausted, but I have to take the extra step to what you need to do. What do you want to do? All right, let's go do it. You know what I'm saying? Put that time in, because I understand that these little moments or these moments with the kids are what's important to them and helps them grow and foster that mental health priority. But sometimes we as people in general are tired, bro. We tired. I done worked a double shift, and now I'm coming home. I got to feed the kids. I got to do this. I got to change a baby that's crying for the last 5 hours, and I don't have that as much of a priority. You know, you can figure that out yourself in a sense. And so if we prioritize mental health and figure out how to add that into our family unit or the family unit in general, it'll help that.
Okay.
I got a phone call the other day from my homie. He was telling me he caught a flat, right? He like, I got a flat, you know what I'm saying? I need a tire. He like, you know where a tire shop at? Like, bro, it's a tire shop on the next block from your house. Like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, cause you never needed a tire, right? Like, so we could put as many mental health facilities in the neighborhood as we want. If people don't feel like you said, the importance of it or the need of it, they'd drive past it every day. Like, I drove past the locksmith in my neighborhood every day until I needed a lock, and they just pop. I'm like, dang, I never saw that right there before. I drive past that every day. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's the number one thing when it comes to access. It's a ton of barriers, but the number one thing when it comes to access is like, we gotta feel like it's important. We gotta feel like we need it. We gotta understand that we need it, and then it'll become. Because I could tell you where every liquor store at by the house. Like, I could tell you where every candy store at. I could tell you where every grocery store at. Because we feel the desire for those things. So I think once we understand that we need it, the demand rises, the supply rises. You know how it goes. So
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. How do stigma and cultural expectations shape whether someone seeks care, and how can we address that?
It depends on the culture. So, you know, John, earlier you talked about like your community and how it could shape and mold you. And I think we all, you know, kind of spoke to that. You know, I come from a community that was like, you know, when they saw some good in the kid, they shielded you from that. Nah, shorty, hey, ain't nobody hooping no more. Go ahead, go to the crib. All right, hey, y'all, they about to start, man. Are they into it with whoever over here? Y'all go ahead and go home. Ain't nobody on the playground today. You know what I mean? Like that. So the community was essential, tremendous into like my development and my understanding of what loyalty is, what family is, what, you know, taking care of people is. But then nowadays ain't no rules out here. And a lot of people, I think you pointed that out, is just really selfish. They only care about it. You was talking about that, Terry, when you were talking about like how people will be like, well, in the mental health field, if they keep you around and get money off you. Like, man, we got kids on the waiting list. I'm here to help you. I want you to, you know, get the help. And so nowadays, I just think because it's more in these communities, people are more selfish and trying to say, okay, how can I get a quick dollar? How can I use a kid? Or how can I how can I have a kid, you know, be my send-off man or do crimes for me because I don't want to do it and I don't want to get caught. I think culturally, it could be messed up if you're not in an environment that is trying to protect it, or you don't have a family or kind of a community that protects that and values that. So I just think it's honor and value, one of those CBT lessons that we always talk about. What do you find? How do you honor your values? How you dishonor your values? I think that's important, just depending on the community. So that's that question that you asked. I just think it just depends on who you around and where you coming from and who you coming from. So Zach, what you feel about that?
Question one more time.
How do stigma and cultural expectations shape whether someone seeks care, and how can someone address that?
We have to, I want to say make it cool, but we have to make it a thing in our community that we do culturally, right? Right now, in the music culture, we talk about music, we talk about, fashion, things like that. And in our music, we got drill rap, we got all the different types of rap, where now the culture is, killing the ops and smoking the dead ops. And then we got the music talking about, calling women derogatory names and stuff like that. And that does breed into the lanes of children and homes, right? Rather than, when like R&B is not even the same anymore. Like, when the last time you heard like something like, I love my girl, like love making music, like things like that nature. Now it's really just like about having sex and creating moments, right? So we're not even culturally talking about the family as a unit or being a unit or being together. It's more so about the trauma that we've experienced. And so we have to find a way to make the stigma, change the stigma or change the culture to, I'm gonna say make it cool, but make it important, make it a real thing, make it something that, we go about. And I think that is shifting, because the more clients I meet, the more they're just like, I like to talk to you about things. I would like to, go out with you in the neighborhood. I would like to do these things with you. So I do see that shift. And mental health is starting to get a big push in media and stuff like that. And so I do see the stigmas and things like that starting to change, where more Black people are starting to get therapy and look into it, which is great. But when it comes to like the culture and stuff, we need to shift that. So,
About education, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think the culture is shifting a little bit. You see rappers, G Herbo from Chicago. You see he talk about how therapy has benefited him and things like that. So I think that the culture of Black youth kind of always follows the trends of rap culture since I've been a kid at least. So hopefully that's something that we see change. But I think where we stand obviously is still some barriers there. And I think one of the biggest is to go seek help. What does that say about me? Right? Like I have to admit to myself that I'm weak at something, or that I'm inadequate to an extent that I have to reach out to somebody to help me. I think that's the mentality, at least. And I think that that's a harmful part of our culture as men specifically. But then also, we're hypervigilant. So if someone, and this is me to this day, you know, with everything that I know, if I'm out and a guy's talking to me for too long, I start to feel like I'm about to get robbed. Like, why are you talking to me, right? You know what I'm saying? I still have the hypervigilance. So if I can't trust, you know, somebody that's in my community, how could I sit and talk to you? They don't even know me. How could I sit and talk to this stranger about all of my problems and lay all of this out? You know, you might not even be able to talk to people in your household. So you're going to talk to, you know, this stranger. So I think culturally, there's a lot of distrust in our culture. I think there's a lot of hypervigilance in our culture, and it just stops us from being able to express in general, but especially to a clinician who's essentially a stranger.
Okay. You and Zach made me think about something when you guys talk about community, and when we do CSI, the purpose of community support intervention is you want to take a young man out of his community, allow him to see, like if he go to a Bears game or he's going downtown, to the Shed Aquarium, restaurant, or to the Shed Aquarium, he's seeing like a lot of people that's getting along, having a good time, not fighting. That might be the first time he's ever seen that downtown, because he's like, every time I go around people, something gonna happen. And so, you know, you kind of breaking those barriers and allowing that client or that youth to see like, oh, Dad, I can be around people and talking, nobody's really doing that. So it just made me think about just kind of what you and Zach was just talking about, why at GRO, CSI is very important, and how it's therapy in that, and it's helping the kid, not just to go out and just say, I'm having fun with my therapist, but the lesson in while we out in this community in this environment, and how it's helping you change your thoughts and perception of being around people or being around other people in a different setting.
I think that's a good point, and that's a great point from Terry talking about the distrust. And I think that's why the mentorship aspect of our job is so important, because there's only so much you can talk about one-on-one in a room, right? Or you might not even want to be open to that. But if we get you outside into a natural environments where you are able to, like you said, see different people, see different things. Like a lot of my clients be like, "Oh, you ever been to McDonald's?" So it's like, well, let's go sit down somewhere nice and talk to a waitress and order your food and do this and do that. And it gives them a different cultural experience or different experience in general that allows them to open more doors for themselves or see more paths to their lives they didn't see before. And I think that has probably been where I've made my greatest breakthroughs with my clients, is just by being in the community with them. Or you with me, bro, you good. You can trust that I'm aware of things around you as well, and we gonna be safe. I'm gonna take you to safe places, and we can just relax. And sometimes they just hypervigilance. I just can't relax. And so these clients are going to spaces where they finally are able to let their guard down and just, for my clients, just be a kid. So because they're not allowed to. And so important.
Not just that, you mentioned the CSIs, taking them outside of their communities, showing them that the world is a lot bigger than the block. Some of them never left the block. So that's a big part of it too, is just showing them that the world is a lot bigger than the block, right? Okay, thank you. What are some non-traditional modes of care that you believe can help bridge gaps in access?
Non-traditional modes of care?
Non-traditional modes of care that you believe can help bridge gaps in access.
Oh, well, right off the bat, the first thing that comes to my mind is neurofeedback that Zach is a part of, the program that you have, John, with the virtual reality and help putting our young people in spaces like, if you in this situation, what would you do? All right, it's okay to mess up. Okay, you messed up. That's not a good thing. Why was that decision a bad decision to make? What's the cost and benefit of you doing that decision? Okay, and then with neurofeedbacks, just having those, brain waves kind of reestablished so that you could have a healthy processing into that. I'm sure Zach could probably kind of build off of what I'm talking about in that, what we do at GRO. But those are non-traditional ways, especially as Terry pointed out, in the way we're going now within the culture. It's not just sports and hip hop no more. Now you got streaming. You know what I mean? So this is a big, huge part of the Black community now. Everybody is, can, go viral and be important off their cell phone or having a platform and things like that. So I just think these are non-traditional ways. What we're doing right now is a non-traditional way. If people see this and they see 4 successful, intelligent Black men up here talking about things that's going on, maybe that would change the dynamic of the way people think. It's not in grandma's kitchen, but we doing something that's non-traditional. So I would say neurofeedback, kind of what you do with virtual reality, and then just like in the culture, as Terry pointed out, podcasts and media now. These are non-traditional ways that can help with therapy moving forward.
Absolutely.
Zach?
Okay.
Yeah, definitely neurofeedback, which is what I facilitate at GRO with my partner. And neurofeedback, just think of it simply as a workout for your brain that helps you teach yourself how to regulate yourself. So it helps with anxiety, PTSD, hypervigilance, pain, ADHD, so a variety of different diagnoses it helps with. And then you're basically teaching yourself how to help yourself. And that's the quickest way I can break it down. But I think the most non-traditional way is what we just talked about, the CSI. CSI is non-traditional, right? Because traditional way is you come meet me in my office, we talk for an hour or 45 minutes to an hour, and then you go about your day. You know what I'm saying? Lord, things that we see, like you said, is I don't want to talk to you for an hour if I'm hungry, bro. What we talking about? I'm starving right now. I'm not trying to talk to you. So let's go sit down and get some food, and then we can talk when you're ready. Or I'm cold, bro. I don't have a coat. I don't own a coat because we can't afford a coat. Oh, bro, well then let's find a way to get you a coat, or let's figure this out, or let's go somewhere warm, or whatever non-traditional way we can make it happen for you. And we're allowed to take these kids or clients or grown men and put them in different environments, as we always stated in the last question, and get them out of what they normally see. And if we can break that cultural norm, their own cultural norm, and show them a different path, then it allows them to dream different.
Absolutely.
Boxing, man. Mr. Mallory, can we open a GRO boxing gym, man? I think boxing is the best. This is why I say that, right? Like, when we did Choose 24, the training with Miss Kim, shout out to Miss Kim. We did Choose 24, and we learned the coping mechanisms, all these visualization, breathing, all of these techniques. I'm like, bro, my boxing coach was doing this with me when I was 15. It's the same thing. The thing that's better about boxing is this. When you sit in the office and you talk to a young man about coping mechanisms, you say, hey, this is a situation that, give me a situation that you went through, explain it to me. Let's practice this breathing method sitting in this office. And then when something happens again, maybe you can do this. And then 2 weeks later, when something happens, he's not thinking about what you told him in that office, right? When you catch on fire, what you supposed to do?
Stop, drop, and roll.
You ever seen somebody on fire do that? Nope. They never been on fire before, right? You don't get the practice. They just tell you. You don't get to practice it, though. They ain't nobody gonna set you on fire. In a boxing ring, we can set you on fire. We can bring it. We can control the fire. And we can make it go as high as we want, as low as we want. But when that bell ring, you come back to the corner. What the coach gonna say? Breathe. Think. You can't be mad in that ring. Now, if you in this closed box and you can't get away, and it's this pressure on you. And we're gonna tell the other guy how much pressure to put on you. And we control that pressure, but if you stop thinking, it's not gonna work for you. It's gonna get worse and worse. So you have to breathe, you have to think, you have to stay calm while you're on fire. And you have to master that, right? Yeah. And I think that, to me, that's the best non-traditional way of giving someone access to that, and because they don't even know they in therapy half the time. You know what I'm saying?
And that's one of the good things about using VR is that you can actually put somebody on fire.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can drop them into a situation and have them practice on how to respond to it.
Yeah.
Is exactly what you're talking about. Right? Okay. If resources were unlimited, what changes would you implement immediately to ensure equitable access?
Home, housing, food. I'll be like a full scholarship.
Full scholarship.
I put clients. Make sure we good. But yeah, I put clients on full scholarship. You know what I mean? Maybe set up like a dormitory where, if you over 18 and everything like that, those clients can be there in kind of that setting. If you under, maybe have some type of living community where families can stay, and still a part of that scholarship is you're receiving services, you're doing neurofeedback, you're doing VR, you're doing in seasonal, you're doing boxing with therapy, you're doing basketball with therapy, you're doing like different things with therapy, and you still going to school and getting your education. Just like when you on full scholarship, all of these things is mandated. This is what you got to do to have your education paid for and have that. So that's what I would do. I would just, if I had unlimited resources, we have a scholarship, we have a campus. It'll be GRO Campus featuring Jitim Young. You know what I mean? Like that.
Okay. Okay. I think for me, just before.
No, go ahead.
I think that we always talked about the education of it, right? And in a lot of our schools, CPS schools especially, we have a lot of, and this is just me, my opinion, we have a lot of unnecessary stuff, wood shop and all this other stuff that we not gonna use. So why not have a class that will teach mental health in our schools? So that's what I would like to see. And if I had unlimited resources, it'll be a mental health class in every CPS school.
I thought you was gonna go with the trade route too, because back in the day, like they had the trades, they had auto mechanics in school, they had plumbing and everything like that. And so once you got that certification, once you got to school, you didn't have to go to college. You could just go start working on buildings. You could go open up your own shop, start cutting hair and everything like that. Yeah. So that'd be another thing too. Yeah. Where's that?
I might have to disagree with you on that wood shop, because wood shop teaches carpentry, which is a trade. Yeah. And I know a carpenter that built an entire inside of a house, basically, wood and everything. Right. So that's a trade you can learn. I think the importance is the education around it, though. You gotta, if you in wood shop, you should teach them why it's important to know this skill and how you can make money. A lot of my clients is like, I want to learn how to make money. Teach me how to make some bread, bro. I'd be like, what's your skills? What's your trade? What do you like to do? And so I think if we had unlimited resources, I would build these categories out, divisions, right? And then we would, what do you like to do? What is your talent? What is your skill? And then we integrate therapy into it. And then we also create, you want to be a hooper? All right, we go to course every day. We're going to do therapy over here. But then, boom, you want to play football? This. You want to do art? We got an art museum over here. You want to box? We go on a box gym over here. You want to just learn? We got schools over here. You want carpentry, trades, yada, 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 yada. And then we get, like Tim said, access to it, a bus system that gets them to and from, directly to and from, system like that. And some type of, I'm not going to say parenting class, but something that helps relieve the pressure of the parent as well.
Like FFT?
It could be FFT, like family therapy, but sometimes the parents need a break. Okay. I'm tired, bro. Like I said, I worked 2 doubles. I got a crying baby, bro. How can we relieve that pressure off that parent to allow them to have the space to even get the kid to the activity, or just give the parent. Some people because parenting don't come in no handbook. They got all these books out here. Them books ain't shit. You don't know what it is until you have a kid, what to do with a kid. Yeah. And so sometimes it's just simple as saying like, yo, your kid yells and screams all the time because when he gets in trouble, you yell and scream at him. And then they just like, oh, your kid fights at school because you beat him when he gets in trouble. Oh. And so just some type of small class that helps relieve the pressure and teaches them parenting skills.
It takes a village.
It's a village.
It takes a village for sure. To close out, man, I would say just following Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is basically this triangle, that shows you on the base level. The top of the triangle is self-actualization, but to get to the top level, you have to have whatever's on the level before it, before you get to the next level. On level 1 of that triangle is food, water, shelter, the basic things you need to survive. If I had just this unlimited amount of resources, that's what I would provide. Because if you think about a lot of the guys that we have that are struggling, it's usually what's going on in the house, right? It's usually some level of instability in the house, and you think about the behaviors that happen in the house, a lot of the trauma, a lot of this stuff is just a result of poverty. A lot of the decisions, the crimes that kids are going out and making is a result of poverty. You got a lot of idle time to go do wrong because your mom is always at work. Your mom is stressed out treating you bad because she's always at work. You know what I'm saying? Like, because if she doesn't, that's just capitalism. It just dangles our survival over our head and make us constantly chase it, and it's stressful. You know, and it's just kind of like the can keeps getting kicked down the road. You need this job bad. You have a ego, this boss with a crazy ego. He talk crazy to you. Can't say what you want to say to him, so you go home and say it to your wife. Your wife can't say it to you, so she say it to the kid. The kid kick the dog bite the cat, and it just go on and on and on. So it's like I would just provide stability, stable households. So if people didn't have to worry about paying bills, they can really like reach. They could think. They could even have just time to just think about, what do I actually want in life? You know what I'm saying? What do I want in life? You could love your kids properly because you ain't stressed out all the time. I would just provide that. I think that alone would solve everything. I ain't gonna say everything, but a lot.
Not everything,
Like,
but a
you know
lot.
what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It takes a village.
So this was a dope conversation, man. We wrapping up. It's dope working with y'all guys. It's dope talking to y'all, man. I'm glad GRO put us together.
Oh,
Yeah, it's amazing.
Sure.